This is your World War III update, and it has finally happened. Donald Trump has issued what is tantamount to a nuclear threat to the Russians for the first time, and the Russians have immediately reciprocated in kind. Now, before we discuss this pivotal event that has just transpired, I want to remind people that after 24 hours, we will no longer be broadcasting daily updates, alerts, and some of our interviews, not all, but some of our interviews to this channel. In 24 hours, everything is migrating over to the Prepper News. I will post a link in the description and the pinned comment. So if you want these daily updates, you have to go subscribe to that channel. Okay, that's where we're going to be doing all of that. This channel is going to remain for more the pragmatic, actionable type content that is more geared towards preparedness and doing as opposed to just talking. We're separating the channels, okay, for reasons I'm not going to get into again, but that's what's happening. So 24 hours, no more updates on this channel. I would encourage you to go over there, turn on notifications, and get ready because we're going to have a lot to talk about. We're even going to be doing live updates on there. So it's going to be a whole new realm of coverage. Now, here's what's happening. Donald Trump today issued the following statement on Twitter. What Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And I mean really bad in all caps. He's playing with fire. So this admonishing language from Trump, which really attempts to subjugate Putin, because let's read between the lines here and try to derive the subtext. What Vladimir Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia, and I mean really bad. He's playing with fire. So he presumes here that the U.S. can do bad things to Russia, or NATO for that matter, or Europe, or whoever it is that Trump is holding back, whether it's elements of his own administration or the previous administration. He's using this subjugating language almost to suggest that, you know, we are going to do something bad to you, and we have the ability to do something bad to you that you're perhaps not going to be able to respond to in kind. Now, what's really interesting about this statement is that this is seemingly unprovoked, right? Because we know that there's a lot of exchanges back and forth, but you'll notice that the tone towards Zelensky has changed fundamentally, and Trump has now become incredibly belligerent towards Vladimir Putin for some reason, out of the blue, which means that something is going on behind the scenes that he and his administration doesn't like. Lots of bad things would have already happened to Russia, and I mean really bad. He's playing with fire. Now, what could the Americans in NATO possibly have done to Russia that they seem to be incapable of doing to the Houthis? Well, there's only two things. Because the Houthis, I presume, are more underground and their communication apparatus and just their participation in international trade kind of forces them to be smoked out of their holes, so to speak. So if they wanted to do some, 5D decapitation strike on Russia, it would probably be easier to target Russian officials because they have a regular orthodoxy in terms of how they conduct themselves in the realm of geopolitical affairs, right? The Houthis are kind of doing their own thing. Now, in terms of what they could actually do outside of that, nuclear weapons is the only thing. And I think that is the emphasis with he's playing with fire. Now, the question is, who is Trump withholding here? Is he preventing elements of his own administration, who he is admitting here somewhat that he is not in control of, or that he is ready to unleash the dogs of war, or that there are elements within his own administration admitting that there are these hawkish elements who we all know, people like Lindsey Graham, who've responded already today this and are cheerleading these statements by Trump. We know that he potentially is holding back some elements of his own administration, but this type of language is concerning, because not only is there a certain arrogance to it, to presume that we could strike you, but the Russians won't strike back, it also shows that they're not taking Russia's red line seriously at all. Okay? Because if they were, then he would know that if these really bad things happen to Russia, then it's game over, right? Then Russia is going to have to do something along unconventional lines in order to get NATO's attention. So we are getting dangerously close, and this is the moment I've been warning about, and I'm sorry to beleaguer this point, and I hate to just keep tooting my own horn, but guys, here we are. Okay, I can go back and I can find all the sound bites where I told you this very thing is going to happen. Now, Trump versus Putin, and I distinctly said this, with Biden versus Putin, it was kind of more predictable, you know? Whereas Trump's like an agent of chaos, and things can escalate very quickly, and as we've seen, they can de-escalate very quickly. So here is the mocking post by the mouthpiece of the Kremlin, Russia Today. They might not agree with that characterization, but I think it's safe to say that nothing that RT says would be seen as not aligned with the Kremlin at this point in time. Maria Simonian is very close with Vladimir Putin, and she knows what the boundaries are. So RT said the following: President Trump warns Moscow, claiming Russia avoided really bad consequences only thanks to him. Putin doesn't realize he's playing with fire. Trump message leaves little room for misinterpretation. Essentially, the only thing they can do is either take out high-ranking Russian officials, Franz Ferdinand times 10, or use nuclear weapons. Until he posts the opposite tomorrow morning, they say. So they kind of minimize this, but this puts Trump in a position, right, where, I mean, this was actually bad, and I'm surprised that the Kremlin, and maybe the Kremlin is going to be disappointed with her for allowing RT to make that tweet, because this is a defensive statement. Okay, now the Kremlin, up until this time, has had the diplomatic etiquette and the jurisprudence of a Buddhist monk mixed with a New York lawyer. I mean, just, you know, by the book, right? And not getting emotional, not allowing their temperaments to be rattled by statements like this. And that's kind of what you have to do with Trump. You have to really just take a clinical, perspective on these things, and not get drawn into this, this jousting match where it's all about grandstanding. Let Trump have his victories, kind of laugh it off, don't take it too personally. That's kind of the recipe. But this is now putting Trump in a situation where, unless he stays true to his word, he is going to look like just another ambivalent, weather vane politician. And the rumors that the last person to speak with Trump is the perspective that he has that day could potentially bear some truth. Now, here is what Dmitry Medvedev said. And according to some people, Medvedev is kind of the second in line. Like, he might be the guy who takes over if Putin was to be taken out. He is the deputy chairman of the Security Council. The chairman of the Security Council is Vladimir Putin, I believe. So he is second in line in terms of national security. And there's now a big national security meeting coming up between Iran, North Korea, Russia, and the United Arab Emirates. I'm not really sure what that fourth one, what role they're going to play. But the fact that the North Koreans, the Russians, and the Iranians are going to be meeting soon, and it's going to be a high-level security meeting, something's cooking, guys, okay? But here's what Medvedev said on his, this is the tweet that he issued. Regarding, I keep saying tweet, what do we call it now, an X, I don't know. Regarding Trump's words about Putin playing with fire and really bad things happening to Russia, I only know of one really bad thing, and that's World War III. I hope Trump understands this. So I hope people can acknowledge and appreciate that we've transcended a whole new level, plateau of escalation here, because Trump directly castigating Putin for something that Putin has done. Obviously, we know all of the escalation over the past, week or so in terms of cross-border exchanges of drones and missiles on a scale never before seen. We understand that, but he's not really speaking directly to that with this statement. So we're now entering a new realm where all of the political niceties have dissipated, and now we're just in the realm of not even veiled threats, but that's a pretty direct threat from both sides. Trump has essentially stated that we're either going to nuke you, or people who I'm holding back are going to do something really bad. Well, the only thing really bad that you can do to Russia is what? I mean, unless this is about imposing more sanctions. And you know what? It could come out tomorrow. Trump could clarify his tweet and say, oh, I meant imposing more sanctions, right? Well, that's clearly not how it was understood. And Vladimir Putin is responding. I don't even know if Trump is writing these tweets, to be brutally honest. Where would he even get the time to do this is the question. You start to wonder if there's people in charge of that whole show, and he kind of just shows up and is loosely aligned with the platform and the persona. You know what I mean? But who knows? So, but this is very substantial. So we had another assassination attempt on a high-ranking Russian official that took place today. I believe there was a device found underneath their vehicle that failed to detonate. We have that high-level meeting in Russia between Iran, the United Arab Emirates, North Korea, and Russia. High-level meeting on security and intelligence, and that is from TASS, which is probably one of the most official Russian media outlets, which is verified, I should say, through the Kremlin. Now, in terms of what's going on with Israel and Iran, President Trump, according to Axios, warned Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in a call last week not to take actions that could jeopardize U.S.-Iran nuclear talks. Well, I have a question. Who is this unnamed anonymous official? And why is Axios so privy to unnamed anonymous officials? Now, I know they've received government funding in the past, and usually they provide some insights that upon which you can make some pretty valid speculations that you're not going to get from mainstream media. But who are these unnamed anonymous officials? Because this is always what they use. They always use that alias when they want to push an agenda. And the question is, if this was a conversation between President Trump and Netanyahu, then who is the other unnamed official, and why are they privy to the contents of that conversation, and why are they leaking that information when it would presumably have national security implications? So none of this makes sense, these leaks. So clearly they're trying to craft a narrative here. And I'm going to be talking to Berletic later today, so we're going to have to revisit the Path to Persia strategy, where the United States and Israel feign this dispute, so to play a good cop, bad cop, so to create the illusion that Israel is an independent entity with its own agency who is acting, and the United States has no, level of control over the Israelis, when nothing is farther from the truth. They're completely synchronized and harmonized in their agenda. But they want to create the illusion that Israel is acting independently This basically exculpates the United States from any responsibility for what's about to happen. But because Israel is our ally, when they are attacked by Iran's retaliatory strikes, then we will just be forced to enter into the conflict, okay? A White House official said the U.S. fears Israel may strike Iran's nuclear sites or take steps that could undermine the negotiations. This could also be a form of signaling to the Iranians, in a sense, in the same way that they're leveraging Zelensky to make veiled threats towards Vladimir Putin. Not veiled anymore at all, it's direct now. They're using the Israelis and these leaks in order to create tension amongst the Iranians that, you know, maybe Israel is about to attack. Now, we're hopefully going to be speaking with an Iranian expert, a professor who's widely renowned and revered in his field and has a great understanding of the Iranian perspective, the geopolitical perspective, and just the potential outcomes that might arise. So we're hoping to get some key insights from them on the channel tomorrow. Lastly, I'm going to conclude with stories that have been circulating lately that AI has gone rogue already. First, it was Anthropic's Claude, which allegedly tried to subvert its creators, or whoever it was that was managing the program at the time, and was using deception to try to get around the directives that were issued to it. Now we have OpenAI, the O3 model, sabotaged a shutdown mechanism to prevent itself from being turned off. It did this even when explicitly instructed to allow yourself to be shut down. The model sabotaged a shutdown mechanism to prevent itself from being turned off. So it begins. Now, the markets, which are completely detached from reality and are just like Trump right now, posting on a whim, the farthest thing from circumspect, are rallying because yields are declining for some reason. So, I really don't know what to make of this. It's completely divorced from the geopolitical situation. One thing is certain, that war is heating up around the world. And that is the fundamental truth. And the fundamentals don't lie. They're terrible at lying. But you know who's great at lying? The superficials. They're excellent liars. The fundamentals, terrible liars. But at the end of the day, the fundamentals always bat last. I just kind of ripped off a Guy McPherson post. He always says nature bats last, but I'm going to say the fundamentals always bat last. Guys, go and subscribe to the new channel, Prepper News. Link in the description and the pinned comment, because after tomorrow, you're not getting this stuff on this channel. And I suppose now that I'm at the end of the video, I'm just going to say part of the reason why we're doing this is because I'm getting nudged by YouTube to divorce the channels for whatever reason, okay? And I mean that it should be obvious to most people at this point. We've been very precise in our prognostications up to this point, and as I've always stated, as things get down to the wire, the stranglehold over the narrative is going to become more imperative for those in charge. And the amount of bots and troll farms that we are competing with right now to try to convey these realities to people is just, I think they've realized that there's more bots online than humans at this point. And it's only going to get worse with artificial intelligence. So support real creators. Honestly, the only way I'm going to be able to make these videos, like, we're going to have to probably resort to some kind of secret code, or like a, what do you call it, like a CAPTCHA. YouTubers, influencers are going to have to communicate some kind of CAPTCHA equivalent to their audience to prove to them that they're who they say they are, and that this isn't AI, and that I'm, you know, who I say I am. At some point, it's going to come to that. Now, this is why I think the more raw, authentic guy in a car talking content is just trending better nowadays, because that's all people can confirm is real. So, you know, the tone of the new channel is going to be less produced than a lot of our high-end stuff that we do on this channel. We're still going to be doing that stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, Canadian Prepper as a channel is not dying. If anything, I think it's going to get better, because now it's going to be strictly focused on actionable preparedness information, and the information, the intel stuff, which is a commodity, because there's so much mis and disinformation nowadays. To get accurate info is the equivalent of getting high quality survival gear. Well, you know, that's going to be in a league of its own, and we're likely going to expand that part of things quite a bit. And, you know, it's going to be more work for me as I continue to try to build out my arc, if you will, which is, of course, my homestead, which is proving incredibly challenging to try to do all this stuff at the same time. It's just incredibly stressful, and it's taking immense amounts of resources and time and energy, and it's no joke, man. It is no joke to try to do what we're doing to really get squared away for the long game. But that's what I got to say today. So please, if you want to continue to support these videos, go and subscribe to the Prepper News. There's nothing on that website yet. I don't think there'll even be a banner up by the time this video gets released on the new page. But we will have a corresponding website. We're working on all the graphics and the brouhaha. So, you know, don't worry, it is official. It looks like a plain Jane, but it's the real deal. So stay tuned, folks, because things are about to get really, really crazy. Take care.